On a daily basis, you spend between a third and half of your waking hours daydreaming. This habit often carries a heavy stigma. We picture a bored teenager zoning out in class, lost in grandiose fantasies about winning Olympic gold or drafting the perfect retort to a peer. Yet human evolution is ruthlessly efficient, typically weeding out traits that waste enormous amounts of time and metabolic energy without providing a tangible benefit. The human brain is an energy-intensive organ. Dedicating up to 50% of its uptime to seemingly purposeless thought creates a glaring biological mystery. Natural selection suggests that any habit occupying half of our waking hours serves a vital survival function, one hidden within the architecture of the mind. To figure out what the brain is actually doing when it wanders, scientists use functional MRIs. These track blood flow changes, pinpointing exactly where energy is being spent at any given moment. This map shows what happens when you focus on a task. Specific frontal regions light up and communicate. This is the executive network, the brain's logical, task-oriented baseline. For years, scientists assumed that when focus drops, the brain simply powered down into a resting state. But scan data revealed an anomaly. The brain does not rest. Instead, a widespread web of nodes rapidly lights up across different regions. This is the default mode network. This network acts as an active internal simulator. It fires up to revisit memories, project future hopes, and engage in free-moving associative thought. The human mind simply transfers its massive energy budget from external tasks to these internal simulations. While mind wandering can drift into mundane planning or negative brooding, its peak utility involves unstructured creative thought. This diagram illustrates the first stage of the creative process, the generative phase. Driven by the default mode network, the brain produces a rapid, chaotic burst of spontaneous ideas. Next comes the selection phase. The logical executive network steps back in to evaluate, develop, and pursue the best ideas from that burst, filtering the noise into a structured pathway. Imaging studies suggest that high-level creative thinking requires these two networks to fire in perfect synchronization. This mechanical collaboration between the brain's wildest simulator and its strictest logic engine produces what we experience as creative insight. Returning to the teenager staring out the window, we can re-examine their behavior through the lens of this network synchronization. In a teenager, the prefrontal cortex, the hub of the executive network, is still under construction and won't be fully developed for years. This intense daydreaming allows the default mode network to run critical social and emotional simulations, helping them navigate relationships and goals while their logic center matures. These periods of apparent distraction represent the brain performing the invisible, heavy lifting of emotional and structural development. For adults, a lifestyle of constant productivity and rigid task focus carries a cost, often starving the brain of its generative phase. Tapping into free-flowing associative thought requires intentionally creating unstructured time to allow the default mode network to activate. Envisioning complex long-term goals and solving high-level problems is biologically dependent on this free-flowing phase. Highly productive logical thinking depends on knowing exactly when to let your mind wander completely off its leash.